Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Okay, today we're gonna focus on the topic on process improvement. So before we go further, we need to look into a few terms that may be relevant to our topic, which are the structure of the CMM itself, including the maturity levels, what are key process areas, common features, and also key practices. Next, we're going to look into 5 maturity levels, which is the core important message of this slide. And we're going to look into what are the characteristics of each level. And the last part is to look into the appraisals in Malaysia and what is the current status of appraisals in Malaysia. So the first thing that is important in terms of software process improvement is in terms of the maturity. But what we are focusing on is on the process maturity. So it can be defined as to what extent an organization define its processes. For example, if the organization has requirements management in place, how does the organization document the procedure? And does the organization follow the procedure? Next one is how the organization actively controls these processes. For example, if there is any change on the requirements, how do they control it? And if they want to know at any point of the progress, can they access the information effectively? And the third one is to provide systematic human and computer-based support for them. So does the organization provide training programs, provide any case tools for the staff to use, or do they have any individual development plan to improve their skill? And in order to look into this model, we start off with the origin of the CMM model, which is Capability Maturity Model, and it is created by Software Engineering Institute. So basically, it's a framework for assessing software process maturity in development organizations. First, we're going to start with maturity levels. So maturity levels define how well the organization performs certain process. In a way, how stable a process is in that organization. So these maturity levels indicate the capability of the process, whether it is matured or not yet. So these maturity levels contain key process areas. So key process areas help to identify what are areas that must be addressed to achieve a particular maturity level. And these key process areas are organized by common features. So what are the common features that indicate whether that activities are effective as well as whether they have been part of that infrastructure or not? And the last one is the key practices. So these key practices describe the infrastructure and activities that contribute most to the effective implementation of the key process area. So by knowing all these terms that we're going to use in the model, it will help us to understand better about this model. So before we go further, we need to understand that CMM is a descriptive model. What does that mean? It means that it provides details on essential operational activities at a particular maturity level. For example, if that organization is assessed to be at level 1, then what are the activities that are expected for that organization to have in place. The next one is CMM is a normative model. What does that mean? It means that it describes the practices that characterize the normal types of behavior expected in an organization. So it provides a sufficient level of abstraction that it describes how the software process is implemented by an organization. And the last part is that CMM is not prescriptive. What does that mean? It means that it does not tell an organization how to improve. So basically, it describes an organization at each maturity level without prescribing the specific means for getting there. So this is the main level of maturity that we will discuss for today. So it starts with level 1, which is initial. So in this level, organizations have an undisciplined process, and it is left to individuals how to manage the process and which development techniques to use. So basically, we can say that the organization have undisciplined process. At level 2, or repeatable, organizations have basic cost and schedule management procedures in place. So they are likely to be able to make consistent budget and schedule predictions for projects in the same application area. The next level, or defined, the software process for both management and engineering activities is documented, standardized, and integrated into a standard software process for the organization. And in the next level, detailed measurements of both process and product quality are collected and used to control the process. And the highest level, level 5, optimizing. The organization has a continuous process improvement strategy based on objective measurements in place. So we're going to look into each of these levels and what are the characteristics in detail after this. Okay, for the first maturity level, which is initial, we can visualize the software process as a black box like this, where you can have set of input and you get set of output, but the visibility of the project's processes is not possible, which means that software processes are unpredictable. It may finish on time, it may not finish on time. It does not provide a stable environment for developing and maintaining software. And during a crisis, projects typically abandon planned procedures and revert to coding and testing. So in general, we can say that the success depends entirely on having an exceptional manager and a well-experienced software team member. So we can summarize that at level 1, capability is the characteristic of the individuals, not of the organization. In the next maturity level 2, now what we can visualize now, kind of boxes with that can represent processes. That means that the basic processes has now been established and they are able to be controlled and it can be repeated in different projects. So some of the features that leads to this repeatable set of practices are requirements management, software project planning, software project tracking and oversight, software subcontract management, software quality assurance, software configuration management. So policies for managing a software project and procedures to implement those policies are established, and now planning and managing new projects is based on experience with similar projects, and the capability is enhanced by establishing basic process management. And the effective process can be categorized as one which is practiced, documented, enforced, trained, measured, and able to improve. So processes may differ between projects in a level 2 organization, but what is important here is that the policies that guide the projects are in place. Okay, and the software process capability of level 2 organizations can be summarized and disciplined because planning and tracking of the software project is stable and earlier successes can be repeated. So the next level 3, now you can see that the representation of the software processes are much more better now, in the sense that we can see the internal structure of the boxes. So that means that the internal structure represents the way the standard software process is applied to projects. And the key process areas that are relevant to this level are organization process focus, organization process definition, training program, integrated software management, software product engineering, intergroup coordination, and peer review. So processes at level 3 means that they are well documented, and they can be used to help the software managers and technical staff to perform more effectively. So the next level is managed. Now not only we can see the internal structure, but we can control the internal processes quantitatively. That means the managers are able to measure the progress and the problems for the internal processes. So the key process areas that are relevant for this level are quantitative process management, software quality management. So the software processes at this level can be summarized as being quantifiable and predictable because the process is measured and operates within measurable limits. So we can, the organization is able to predict what is the trend of the processes and the quality that will be produced within this constraint. And finally, the last level 5, which is optimizing. Not only now we can see the internal structure of the software processes, and also we can quantitatively manage the internal processes, but now the ineffective software process can now be removed and replaced or revised by a new set of software processes. I just want to highlight few differences between CMM and CMMI. So in CMMI, it has 5 maturity levels too, but level 4 is named as quantitatively managed. And the key process areas in CMM is renamed to process areas. In CMM, there are 18 KPIs, and in CMMI, there are 25 process areas. So if you want to check organizations in Malaysia who have received this appraisal, you can go to this website and check out. So for each company, they will be assessed based on the process areas. If they are satisfied, they will get to be satisfied at that level. So as a recap, we have seen the structure, the maturity levels, the characteristics of each level, and CMMI appraisals.